The following is a fan-based discussion, and all materials being discussed are owned by Toei and Subaraya Productions. I claim no ownership to the materials being discussed and is purely fan opinion.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another TFX video, specifically another tier list video, where I'll be ranking every Kamen Rider protagonist or main rider. Since Gav recently ended, I thought this would be a perfect chance to make this video. So without further ado, let's get into this, starting off with our first rider of the Heisei era, Godai Yusuke, Kamen Rider Kuga. Yusuke is an S. Like, what is it to say about him? Like, he's optimistic. He wants to fight for the smiles of other people. You see his struggles as the show goes on, where he's not a guy who likes to use violence, but he only does it because he has to protect the smiles of other people. He's just great. Like, you just can't help but love the guy. Like, you definitely want this guy as your friend, and I definitely would. Now on to Tsugami Shoichi, Kamura Agito. Um, I definitely like Shoichi enough. Though I feel like him. The problem lies, of course, with the show and how it handles its story, because I feel like Shoichi's backstory should have came in earlier, because he starts off as basically without memories, and as such, he's basically like a very carefree kind of person. But he's a kind person, and helps everyone, and he's very competent. But the thing is, like, when he's out of suit and when he's fighting are basically two different people. At least it feels that way. And when he recovers his memories, the struggle he has to go through, I like that. Because it definitely shows some shift in his character. With that, I'll give Shoichi a B tier. He's a good protagonist. Alright, next, Kido Shinji, Kamada Ryuki. This is another one. Another S. He is part of the reason why I love Ryuki so much as a show. Like, he's a fish out of water, a great one. And it makes sense that he's the only one basically out of the Ryuki cast who went in and did not really know what he got himself into, essentially. He has the goal of wanting to end the war, but he doesn't know how. And seeing his struggles, especially when it comes to his friendship with Ren, the Kamen Rider Knight, so good. So good. Absolutely S tier for him. Now, next is Inui Takumi, Kamen Rider Faiz. I feel like he sort of has the same problem as Shoichi. We know, for those who've seen Faiz, you know that Takumi is not human. He's the wolf orphanarch. But you don't really find out he's an orphanarch until the late 30s, which is very late for like a 50-ish episode show. And I feel like his journey from going to basically a guy who doesn't want to let anyone in and being an asshole to someone who is willing to become Faiz and fight for other people's dreams, to protect other people's dreams. He's definitely a fine protagonist, I would say. They just don't really do much with his backstory. And it definitely doesn't help the fact that we find it out so late. But Takami's not bad though. I'll give him a B tier. He's fine. Alright, next is Kenzaki Kazuma, Kamen Rider Blade. I like him a lot. But the thing with him definitely stems from in the back half of the show, where his relationship with Hajime, Kamen Rider Chalice, and him sacrificing his humanity to protect him, essentially, so he doesn't have to seal him. So good. However, something I did not like about him, his whole thing essentially at the beginning is revolved around Tachibana, who is Kamen Rider Garen, our secondary writer. That part I was not a fan of. Like, it feels like after he got over himself during that part, he's a great protagonist. But he did not start off that great, so I won't give Kenzaki an S, I'll give him an A. Alright, next is Hibiki, Kamen Rider Hibiki. Again, another great protagonist, although this one has sort of the reverse problem of Kenzaki, where Hibiki is a great protagonist for the first half of the show. But then, I'm not going to say his character is bad in the second half, but The second half of the show doesn't really do him that well. But Hibiki, he's a great mentor figure. He's a great, basically a father figure to our actual main character of the show, Asumu. Now, where I'd put Hibiki? I'll give it an A. Like, if the show actually went with its original plan, it'll probably be S. But all right, next, Tendo Soji, Kamen Rider Kabuto. S tier. I think Tendo is so good. Like, he has like literally one of the most badass introductions of any of these Kamen Riders. Him being overpowered, he's part of the reason why Kabuto is so fun to watch. He's he's overpowered and arrogant, but it comes off as fun. So Tendo is definitely S worthy. Alright, next. Now this Deno technically has two protagonists. The human protagonist, Nogami Ryotaro, and the second one is the Imogen Momotaros. I definitely like that dynamic because Ryotaro at first didn't want to fight with Momotaros because Momotaros was not really the nicest guy at the beginning. Let's face it, he wasn't. But over time, their dynamic grows. And also, just as separate characters by themselves, Momotaros is just fun. And Ryotaro is like, it's so nice to watch his growth from basically this unlucky dude, basically one of the unluckiest dudes on the planet, and being extremely like bitchy, let's face it, he was like that, to basically wanting to become stronger and wanting to help other people. I gotta put Deno in S. I quite like them. Okay, however, next one, Kurenai Wataru, Kamen Akiva. I might get a lot of hate for this, but I didn't like him. He's like the same as Ryotaro, where it's like sort of bitchy, and a lot of their personalities are similar. But while Ryotaro's that part of his personality comes off as funny, which makes sense because Deno is a comedy show, Wataru, it felt annoying. He's a bitch. He's just a bitch, pretty much, and I don't really like him that much. And basically, him wanting to basically erase himself near the end of the show. No. So Wataru is trash. I'm sorry. Our next is Karuya Tsukasa, Kamen Decade. I like him a lot. However, I gotta say this. His backstory was not explored well. Like, he starts off as basically someone who has amnesia, which Shoichi also had, but they don't explore his backstory in show, and a lot of things about him just doesn't make sense. So Tsukasa is A tier. Now, once again, just like Dano, next we have two protagonists for this next one, Kamara W, with Hidari Shotaro and Philip. These two are S tier for sure. Their chemistry with each other is so good. Like, Shotaro does a great job of portraying emotion, like his desire to help other people, and the fact that he's very emotional too, especially when near the end where Philip's gonna die if they transform again. And Philip, speaking of Philip, Philip is also these two make a great duo. Like, Shotaro, he's great at his job as a detective, don't get me wrong, but he's much more physically strong. He's the physically stronger one out of the two, while Philip is basically the human Google. You definitely buy the fact that they're partners. Next is Hino Eiji, Kamen Rider O's. This is another one. An S tier character. Like, this guy is just like Yusuke from Kuga. He's extremely optimistic. And the fact that he's has to go from basically helping other people and not caring about himself to actually having a desire for himself, that journey is just so good. And his dynamic with the other characters, especially Hina, peak. So yeah, Eiji is S tier, and his dynamic with Ankh is also one of the greatest dynamics I've seen in basic Toku history. Alright, next is Kisaragi Gentaro, Kamen Rider Forze. I'll be honest with you, at first when I watched Forze, I was very iffy on him as a character. Specifically because he's optimistic as well, just like Eiji is, but Eiji is nowhere near as loud as Gentaro is. Gentaro, at first, I didn't really like that part about him, but as I watched the show, like, I feel like his character did grow on me. He is a great character. Like, he's definitely, like, he may not be the smartest kid in school, and let's face it, he's not, but he's definitely the kind of friend you would want. The supportive friend, the friend who would basically help you out whenever you need help. That's something I really like about him. And his energy definitely did grow on me too. So I'll give Gentaro an A tier. Alright, next is Soma Haruto, Kamen Rider Wizard. One of the most boring protagonists I've seen in Kamen Rider as a whole. He basically calls himself the last hope. And he wants to basically be a symbol of hope to other people. I like that. That's a good idea. However, the show does not explore enough on that. Like, the only other thing I remember about Haruto is him being a soccer player, and that was just 2 episodes. And I'm just like, and anything else? The show doesn't really focus on him enough for me to really care about him that much. Like, I won't say he's trash, but Haruto definitely is below average because he was boring to watch, just like the show. And next is Kazuraba Kota, Kamen Rider Gaim. I definitely like Kota. He basically has to grow up in his show because at first he just simply used his power for his own gain until he went ahead to help other people with that power. His journey to becoming basically a space god. I quite like Kota as a protagonist. Although one thing I had a nitpick on is the whole thing with Michi and the fact that it took him as long as he did to figure out that Michi was manipulating him the whole time, basically. That part was a bit iffy on, but besides that, I'll still give Kota an S tier. He's still a great protagonist. Alright, next is Tomari Shinosuke, Kamen Rider Drive. Again, a great protagonist. He basically goes from this lazy cop to someone who's basically committed to protecting people as both a police officer and a Kamen Rider. I quite like him. But he doesn't really start off the best. And I get because his backstory he unintentionally injured his partner. But at first he's not really the best character. And that's really just the show in general, because Drive doesn't really start off as the best show. So Shinosuke, I'll give him a tier. Alright, next is Tenkuji Takeru, Kamen Rider Ghost. Again, like Haruto, he was boring. Yeah, he wants to help people and he's dead and his name is Tenkuji Takeru. What else is there, to be fair? The antagonistic aspect that Spectre had towards him. Like, when they become friends, that part wasn't explored enough. Not enough time was spent on it. And Takeru, I didn't really like him, mainly because of how boring he was. Now, okay, I forgot to mention this with Haruto. The reason I'm not gonna give him trash, and the reason why is because outside of his show, he's a much better character. In show though, D tier. I didn't like him that much. No. Alright, next, Hojo Emu, Kamen Rider X-Aid. S tier character. Like, his growth, because he starts off as an intern, as basically an intern at a hospital. And seeing his growth, because at first he's definitely a very idealistic person who wants to basically save every patient. Until he's dealt a hard blow to the fact that he can't save everyone. At first he's basically this extremely kind and sort of bland character, but his growth over the show, basically going from intern to an actual doctor. Great. All right, next is Kiryu Sento, Kamen Rider Build. Again, a good character. But the thing with Sento, though, is that he's a genius. And he's very cocky at the beginning, like, so let the experiment begin. Like, I like that catchphrase, don't get me wrong. But as the show went along, Sento, being the genius that he is, he does make questionable decisions. But he has a great dynamic with Banjo, who is our secondary rider, Kamen Rider Cross. Like Sento, I like him a lot, so I'll still give him an A tier. However, this next one, Tokyo Sogo, Kamen Rider Zio. I'll be completely honest. I wish I could like his character, but I didn't. And it's the main fact that I didn't really buy his motivation that much. I mean, wanting to be king. I didn't care about him. I really didn't. So, like, where I'll put him, I won't put him in trash, but I'll put him in D tier. He's not that great of a protagonist. Our next is Hiden Aruto, Kamen Rider 01. I was definitely a bit iffy on his jokes, because some of the jokes weren't exactly funny. And a lot of the funny aspects revolving his jokes aren't even really the joke itself. It's how people react to it. Like, for example, Izu, who's his secretary, basically goes on to explain it, and that's basically the funny part. But I definitely get his motivation because he believes that human gears, which is basically AI robots, humans can coexist with them. And he believes that human gears are like us, very much alive and have hearts too, so they can have dreams of their own. I really like that. And he did give in to despair near the end of the show, but his desire to help human gears is genuine, and I really get that. Arto, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll give him an S tier. I quite like him. However, next, Kamiyama Toma, Kamen Rider Saber. He's a nice guy. What else is there? The problem with Toma is that I feel like he does not change throughout the show. Like, his starting point and his end point, the same character. And that's not interesting to watch. Like, he didn't annoy me though, don't get me wrong. Like, he's not the kind of character who would annoy you. Where I would put Toma, I'll probably put him in D tier. Alright, next, again, this is two protagonists. We have Igarashi Iki, who is Kamen Rider Revi, and Vice, who is Kamen Rider Vice. Together they make Kamen Rider Revice. But their relationship, going from basically working with each other because if one of them dies, the other dies as well, to basically becoming friends and actually accepting that they need each other to be whole. So that's where the motivation to fight together comes from. And I really like that. However, dynamic is good. But characters by themselves, though. Because we have Iki on one hand. He's a busybody, and he cares about his family. What else can you really say about him besides that? Like, his main plot line with his memories, it doesn't, like, nobody seems to notice or bring it up until around episode like 20-ish, I believe it was. And that was too late. And outside of that, Iki was just like, he's okay. I'll give him that. Vice, on the other hand, his energy, I did feel a little bit iffy about his energy because he felt like the kind of character that just won't shut up. And let's face it, he doesn't. But like Vice, you definitely see him change, where he sacrifices himself to give Iki back his memories, and that part I like a lot. But these two, I'll give them C tier. Not bad, not great either. However, next one, Yukio Ace, Kamen Rider Geats. S. He's a bastard, man, let's face it, at the beginning. And once you learn more about him, and basically his lying nature, and he was like, what do you expect? I'm a fox. That part I just love so much. And Ace just has so much charisma that you basically have no choice but to pay attention to him. And his story of how he basically becomes a god of creation, great. Ace is a great protagonist. Nothing more to say. Alright, next. Ichinose Hotaro, Kamen Rider Gotchard. I hated Gotchard. And one big reason is I could not like Hotaro. Hotaro, at first I didn't mind him, but it's like, I think more about him is like, his desire to befriend the Kemis. I just can't relate to him in that aspect, like as a hero. Because, like, okay, your motivation is you want to befriend the Kemis. Why should I care? That's the problem with Hotaro. Like, a lot of the things surrounding him, specifically his dad and his past with Hopper, they don't explore those things in depth. And I don't like that. His catchphrase, gotcha, it doesn't make sense. Where would I put him? Like, before maybe D, but now I have to put him in trash. I didn't like him. And last but not least, Shoma, Kamen Rider Gabu. Any doubt? He's an S tier character. Like, he has a tragic backstory coming from basically a family who treated him and his mother like dirt. And him escaping to basically the human world and basically meeting a lot of people and basically finding happiness. I love him. Like, he's a good boy. His growth, his relationship with Hanto and Lakia, great. Also, him going by himself to the Grand New World to fight Bokka, peak. Shoma is amazing. Anyways, this is my ranking of the Kamen Rider protagonists from Heisei to Reiwa. Do you agree with my choices? And if you disagree, feel free to comment down below what you would change about this tier list and how you think of every Kamen Rider protagonist. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's it for today, folks, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody!